Willow Creek was the kind of neighborhood people envied, a crescent of neatly aligned houses, manicured lawns, and white picket fences. On most mornings, the only sound was the distant rumble of a delivery truck or the occasional bark of a neighbor's dog. It was the kind of place where doors were rarely locked and secrets were supposedly non-existent, or so everyone believed. Marisa Thompson, a retired school teacher, had lived on Willow Creek for over 20 years. She knew every child by name, every family's routines, and the subtle tensions that occasionally rippled through her seemingly idyllic street. On a Tuesday morning, as sunlight spilled across her hydrangea bushes, she noticed something unusual. The Harrison residence, 2 doors down, had its front door ajar. Marissa frowned. Mr. and Mrs. Harrison were meticulous about appearances. Forgetting to lock the door was uncharacteristic. And then she heard it, a scream cutting through the calm morning air like shattered glass. Marissa's heart skipped. She rushed outside, her slippers slapping against the sidewalk. Her neighbors' faces appeared in windows, their expressions mirroring shock and confusion. Inside the Harrison home, chaos awaited. Mr. Harrison lay sprawled across the polished hardwood floor of the living room, a dark crimson stain spreading from his temple. Mrs. Harrison crouched beside him, hands shaking violently, her face pale, her eyes wide with terror. Or was it calculation? I don't know what happened," she stammered. "I came home and he was just like this." Detective Nathan Cole arrived shortly after. He was a man who had seen the darkest corners of human nature, but even he could feel the chill that settled in the Harrison living room. There was no sign of forced entry. The front door hadn't been kicked in, no windows shattered, no valuable items missing. Yet the scene screamed intentionality, precision, and betrayal. Cole moved slowly through the room, his trained eyes noting details others might overlook. A photograph of the Harrisons with their neighbors sat slightly askew on the mantel. A wineglass rested on a coaster, half full, untouched by dust. The television remote was carefully placed on the armrest of the sofa, not toppled as if in a struggle. Someone had staged the room, intentionally or out of habit, but why? Outside, the neighborhood had gathered, murmuring in hushed tones. Whispers floated from one lawn to the next. Who could do this? But the Harrisons were perfect people. It must have been a robbery. Cole ignored them. Willow Creek was about to prove that perfection was a mask, and beneath it were motives far more sinister than anyone wanted to admit. Cole's first step was the neighbors. Emma Clark, a young mother who lived across the street, recounted seeing Mr. Harrison arguing with a shadowy figure a few nights before. "I couldn't make out the person's face," she admitted, voice trembling, "but I thought I recognized them. They seemed familiar, like someone from the neighborhood." Her eyes darted nervously as she spoke, and Cole noted the hesitation. People always knew more than they were willing to admit. Then there were the financial discrepancies. A routine check revealed the Harrisons had recently withdrawn large sums of money from their accounts, more than they would ever need for mortgage and groceries. Was it tied to the murder, or was it part of a deeper, hidden life they had led in plain sight? Cole made a mental note. Every perfect suburban facade had cracks, and every crack hid a story. Cole interviewed Marissa again. She mentioned small, unsettling observations she had made over the years, late-night visitors who weren't supposed to be there, hushed arguments through walls, and the way Mr. Harrison sometimes avoided eye contact with certain neighbors. "I thought it was just stress, mortgages, PTA meetings, family drama. I didn't think something like this could happen here." The detective also discovered that the Harrisons were active in the community, hosting charity events, volunteering at local shelters, and consistently maintaining an image of respectability. But the contrast between their public image and the eerie calm of the crime scene hinted at secrets far darker than anyone in Willow Creek could imagine. As the hours passed, tension rippled through the neighborhood. The media had arrived, and their cameras captured the serene cul-de-sac in harsh, unflattering angles. Headlines were already forming. Tragedy in Willow Creek, beloved family man found dead. Cole felt a pang of frustration. The story told to the public would be a lie, polished and sanitized, but behind closed doors, the truth was a tangled web, and each thread pulled revealed more disturbing patterns. A key break came late in the afternoon. Cole noticed something peculiar about the house itself. The hallway leading to the bedrooms had faint scuff marks, as if someone had dragged something heavy. In the kitchen, a drawer containing knives had been partially opened, one knife out of place, suggesting someone had searched for a weapon or concealed one. Cole's instincts told him this wasn't a spontaneous crime. It was premeditated. Marissa, standing silently by the curb, noticed a neighbor walking by. Leonard Price, a man known for his calm demeanor and perfectly trimmed lawn, waved politely. But Cole caught Leonard's gaze lingering too long on the Harrison home. Something about the way he carried himself, too casual, too composed, made Cole's stomach tighten. He filed Leonard away as a person of interest, even if only subconsciously for now. As night fell, the streetlights cast long shadows over Willow Creek. Families retreated indoors, closing doors behind them, wary of what had just transpired. Cole remained outside the Harrison house, reviewing notes and piecing together the fragments of the day. He realized one thing with chilling certainty. The murder of Mr. Harrison was only the beginning. Behind the smiles, the charity events, and the carefully maintained lawns lay secrets that could destroy the entire community. And somewhere in those shadows, the person responsible, someone who had blended seamlessly into the fabric of the neighborhood, was still watching, waiting, and planning their next move. Detective Cole's phone buzzed. An anonymous tip had arrived, simple and cryptic. "You're looking at the wrong clues. The truth is closer than you think." Cole pocketed the phone, feeling the first true sense of unease in years. Willow Creek's quiet streets weren't just hiding a murder, they were hiding a darkness that no one was prepared to face. And as he looked around at the houses with their warm lights and manicured lawns, he realized the nightmare had only just begun. Detective Nathan Cole's mind churned as he walked back into the Harrison home the next morning. The previous night had left Willow Creek restless. Neighbors whispered across fences, glancing at each other with suspicion. The calm facade of suburban life had shattered, and Cole knew that in places like this, appearances could be deadly deceiving. Inside, Mrs. Harrison sat stiffly in the kitchen, her fingers wrapped tightly around a cup of untouched coffee. "Detective," she said, her voice brittle, I don't know who would want to hurt him. We had no enemies." But the way her eyes darted to the corner of the room, avoiding direct contact, unsettled Cole. Something about her composure, or lack of it, didn't add up. Cole started by reviewing the surveillance footage from the neighborhood cameras. They were modest setups, not high-tech systems, but enough to capture the critical moments outside the Harrisons' house on the night of the murder. As he scrolled through the grainy images, his brow furrowed. A figure approached the house carrying a package large enough to conceal something heavy. Gloves covered the person's hands, and the hoodie obscured their face. But the gait, the familiar casual stride, it belonged to someone from Willow Creek, someone Cole knew would never appear on a suspect list at first glance. He called Leonard Price in for questioning. Leonard, the neighbor with the pristine lawn and the friendly smile, seemed calm, almost rehearsed as he explained his late-night visit. "I was just dropping off a package for a friend," he said, voice even. But Cole noticed the subtle signs, a flicker in his eyes, a slight hesitation before responding, the way his hands twitched just a little. Leonard was hiding something. As Cole dug deeper, more anomalies surfaced. Financial records showed the Harrisons had withdrawn significant amounts of money in the weeks leading up to the murder, funds unaccounted for in their normal expenses. Receipts and bank statements suggested unusual transactions to unfamiliar names. Marissa Thompson, the retired teacher, mentioned overhearing arguments through the walls late at night. discussions about keeping things quiet and not letting anyone find out. Cole visited the Harrisons' bank, quietly requesting transaction records. What he found was more troubling. The couple had been involved in a series of high-stakes deals that skirted legality, including shady real estate investments and questionable donations to local charities. They weren't just a family maintaining appearances. They had a hidden life of manipulation, bribery, and deceit. Meanwhile, Cole's attention returned to Leonard. Neighborhood chatter painted him as the perfect neighbor, polite, helpful, quiet. But he had been seen lingering near the Harrisons' house at odd hours. Cole began canvassing the other residents, asking questions that seemed innocent but tested their memories. Slowly, inconsistencies emerged. One neighbor, a young woman named Jenna Marks, admitted she had seen Leonard visiting the Harrisons more frequently than he let on. Another, a mail carrier, recalled noticing packages going both ways, but with no explanation. The pieces began to form a picture of a network of secrecy and subtle intimidation. Cole realized that the murder wasn't an isolated act. It was part of a pattern, a plan carefully orchestrated to cover up deeper sins. Cole spent hours in the Harrisons' attic, combing through papers, old letters, and photographs. In a dusty corner, he found a safe, partially hidden behind boxes. Inside were documents revealing more than financial irregularities, personal letters, blackmail threats, and evidence of extramarital affairs. The couple had cultivated a public image of perfection, but behind closed doors, lies, manipulation, and betrayal ran rampant. Cole's gut tightened. He thought he understood suburban crime, occasional affairs, petty theft, a domestic dispute gone wrong. But this was different. The Harrisons were part of a hidden web that connected neighbors, friends, and perhaps even family members. And the murder? It was only the tip of a much darker iceberg. Later that evening, Cole visited Emma Clark, the young mother who had first noticed the shadowy figure arguing with Mr. Harrison. She lived in a modest home with her young son, and her anxiety was palpable. "I didn't know what to do," she admitted, wringing her hands. "I thought maybe I imagined it, but now, seeing all this, I think I saw someone dangerous." Emma described the figure again, this time in more detail. The way the person's shoulders tensed, the careful placement of hands, she thought it looked like Leonard. Cole didn't react, but his mind raced. Leonard Price, the perfect neighbor, could very well be the key to the entire case. Cole spent the night organizing the evidence, but even with all the financial records, security footage, and witness testimonies, one thing was clear. The motive was deeper than money, deeper than a simple crime of passion. The Harrison household had hidden a darkness so intricate that even Cole struggled to comprehend the full scope. Later that evening, Cole visited the crime scene again, walking slowly through the rooms, imagining the final moments of Mr. Harrison's life. Every detail felt staged: the misplaced furniture, the carefully left wine glass, the lack of fingerprints in key areas. Someone had meticulously planned this, someone who understood the intricacies of human behavior. And then came the anonymous tip. Cole's phone buzzed with a single chilling message. "You're looking in the wrong direction. The real danger lives closer than you think." The detective's instincts flared. He had been chasing shadows, following clues scattered like breadcrumbs, but now it was evident that someone in Willow Creek was watching, waiting, and manipulating the investigation. Cole knew one thing: the neighborhood's idyllic image was a mask, and once it was removed, nothing would ever be the same. By midnight, Willow Creek was silent again, but the quiet no longer felt safe. Every window, every porch, every familiar face carried potential threat. Cole leaned against his car, staring at the Harrison house under the dim streetlights. The web of deceit was sprawling, intricate, and deadly, and somewhere in that web the murderer waited, not just waiting to strike again, but waiting for the truth to stay buried forever. Cole's determination hardened. Whoever was behind this had underestimated him, and the closer he got to unraveling the neighborhood's secrets, the more dangerous the game would become. And one thing was certain: in Willow Creek, The truth was far worse than the crime. Detective Nathan Cole sat in his car outside the Harrison house, the quiet street of Willow Creek bathed in the dim glow of streetlights. The anonymous message from the night before weighed heavily on him. The real danger lives closer than you think. Every instinct he had screamed that the neighborhood's perfect exterior hid something far darker. Inside the Harrisons' home, forensic teams continued their meticulous search, but Cole knew that physical evidence alone wouldn't solve this. He needed context, relationships, and motives. He started by revisiting Leonard Price. On the surface, Leonard was charming, the kind of neighbor who would lend a ladder without hesitation and smile at everyone at Sunday brunch. But appearances, Cole reminded himself, were always deceptive. Leonard answered the door, casual as ever. "Detective Cole, I thought you might be back," he said, his smile unwavering. Cole noted the subtle tension in Leonard's fingers, the faint tightening of his jaw. He had studied Leonard's demeanor, and something didn't sit right. "I need to ask you more questions about the night Mr. Harrison was killed," Cole began, keeping his voice steady. Leonard hesitated, then invited Cole inside. As the detective stepped into Leonard's house, the air felt unnervingly sterile. Everything was in place, too perfect, like someone had spent hours ensuring there were no loose ends, except for the faint odor of bleach, which hinted at recent cleaning. Cole made a mental note. "I don't know what you expect me to say," Leonard began. "I went over to the Harrisons' house that night to drop off some documents for a project we were collaborating on." His eyes flickered toward a neatly stacked pile of papers on the desk. Cole sensed the subtle evasion. "Project? What kind of project?" Leonard shifted. "Real estate investment. Nothing illegal. We were just helping each other out." But Cole remembered the financial records from the Harrisons' accounts, the unexplained withdrawals, and the hidden documents in their attic. Leonard's calm demeanor was cracking ever so slightly. Leaving Leonard's house, Cole felt the pieces shifting. The murder wasn't just an act of rage or theft, it was a consequence of long-buried secrets. Someone in the neighborhood had orchestrated events with precision, ensuring no one could predict the outcome. The next morning, Cole convened with his team at the police station. "We've been looking at the wrong angles," he said, spreading out photos of the neighborhood and key individuals. "The Harrisons' deaths are connected to their secret dealings, and someone from their inner circle had to be involved. Leonard is too convenient a neighbor to ignore." While reviewing neighborhood interviews, another discovery came to light. Jenna Marks, the neighbor who had noticed Leonard's late-night visits, mentioned a meeting she had accidentally overheard Leonard and Mr. Harrison in the Harrisons' backyard 2 weeks before the murder. Voices were heated, words like exposure and "you can't trust them" floated into her memory. Cole's pulse quickened. The stakes were higher than he realized. Back at the Harrison house, Cole inspected the safe in the attic once more. Among the blackmail letters and financial records, he found something startling: a photograph of Mr. Harrison meeting with a woman who was not his wife, someone who appeared familiar, unsettlingly so. Further investigation revealed her identity: Eleanor Price, Leonard's estranged sister, known in the neighborhood but largely invisible. The revelation reshaped the investigation. Leonard's perfect demeanor now carried the weight of family loyalty, secrets, and potential complicity. Cole's next move was risky. He contacted Eleanor under the guise of a friendly visit, but his true intent was interrogation. Eleanor greeted him at the door, flustered but polite. "Detective, to what do I owe you this visit?" she asked, masking nervousness with civility. Cole noted her shifting gaze, the way her hands trembled slightly when she poured him tea. He eased into conversation. "I'm trying to understand Mr. Harrison's final days. I came across a photograph of you with him. What was your relationship?" Eleanor stiffened, glancing toward a hallway as if expecting someone to emerge. Her voice was barely a whisper.
It was personal, but it had nothing to do with his death. Cole wasn't convinced. Eleanor's hesitancy, combined with the timing of Leonard's strange behavior, painted a picture of family collusion. Someone in the Price family had reasons to manipulate the Harrisons, and perhaps murder was the only solution to a problem spiraling out of control. Meanwhile, tensions escalated across Willow Creek. Rumors swirled among neighbors, fueled by local media. Parents warned children not to wander, and doors that were once left unlocked were now bolted tight. Cole realized the neighborhood itself was a powder keg. Any misstep could ignite chaos. Then came a breakthrough. Forensic analysis revealed fingerprints on a wine glass in the Harrisons' living room that didn't match any household members except Leonard's. It was a subtle clue, easy to dismiss, but Cole saw the pattern. Leonard had been inside the house the night of the murder. Whether he acted alone or covering for someone else remained uncertain, but the evidence was undeniable. Cole confronted Leonard once again, presenting the findings in a controlled, calm manner. Leonard's mask cracked. "You don't understand," he said, voice rising, eyes wild. "We were protecting something, protecting everything we've built. Harrison, he made mistakes, dangerous mistakes. I didn't kill him, at least not like you think, but someone had to stop him before he destroyed all of us." The confession, or half-confession, left Cole uneasy. Leonard admitted involvement but deflected direct responsibility. Cole now faced a complex moral puzzle. The murder had deeper motivations, and uncovering the full truth required untangling lies layered across years of deception, betrayal, and fear. By nightfall, Cole pieced together the disturbing narrative. The Harrisons' public image hid financial crimes, blackmail, and illicit relationships. Leonard, pressured by family and possibly Eleanor, had acted, not necessarily to kill, but to manipulate events that spiraled into murder. And someone else, still at large, had orchestrated the perfect storm from the shadows. The streets of Willow Creek were quiet, but the silence was treacherous. Every familiar face could conceal a motive. Every neighbor could be a potential witness, or worse, a conspirator. Cole knew the final confrontation was imminent. Somewhere in this web of betrayal, the ultimate truth awaited, a revelation so shocking it would leave the neighborhood stunned and possibly destroy more than one family. Cole's phone buzzed again. Another anonymous message appeared. "Look closer at the ones you trust most. The truth hides in plain sight." Cole's jaw tightened. The game was no longer about uncovering a single murderer. It was about exposing a hidden world where lies, family loyalty, and fear intersected to create a crime more horrifying than murder alone. And somewhere in the familiar streets of Willow Creek, the true mastermind was watching, waiting, and planning the next move. Cole stared at the darkened house across the street. The shadows seemed alive, stretching across lawns, hiding secrets, whispering lies. The real danger wasn't the murder, it was the hidden truth behind it, and he knew, with a certainty that made his blood run cold, that when it was revealed, it would shock everyone, for the crime itself was far less terrifying than the web of betrayal surrounding it.
Detective Nathan Cole stood silently outside the Harrison house, the night air heavy with tension. Weeks of investigation had unraveled the seemingly perfect world of Willow Creek, exposing deceit, lies, and betrayal. Leonard Price's involvement had been a key piece, but Cole knew he was still only scratching the surface. Someone deeper, someone closer to the Harrisons than anyone suspected, had orchestrated the chain of events that led to murder. Cole reviewed his notes in his mind. The Harrisons' financial misdeeds, blackmail schemes, illicit affairs all pointed to a dangerous web. Leonard had confessed to involvement, but he had denied killing Mr. Harrison directly. That left Eleanor Price, his estranged sister, whose secret connections to both Leonard and the Harrisons suggested she may have manipulated events behind the scenes. But Cole sensed an even darker truth, something hidden beneath family loyalty, greed, and fear. It was a rainy evening when Cole finally decided to confront Mrs. Harrison. She had been cooperative but nervous, her answers rehearsed and evasive. Cole arrived at her door, badge in hand, but tone calm, almost conversational. "Mrs. Harrison, I need to understand the full story. Everything you've kept hidden. I need it now." Her eyes flickered, a mix of fear and defiance. "Detective, I've told you everything I know," her voice quivered. Cole leaned closer. "The truth, not the version you want people to believe." For the first time, her composure cracked. Tears welled in her eyes. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I never meant for him to die." She paused, catching her breath. "It was supposed to be a warning, a scare, something to protect our family secrets." Cole felt a shiver. "A warning?" he prompted. Mrs. Harrison nodded. "There were threats from people who knew too much. Leonard, Eleanor, they were trying to protect us. I panicked. I confronted him. We argued, and in the heat of the moment, I pushed him. It was an accident at first, but then—" her voice trailed off. Cole's mind raced. The crime had been more than premeditated. It was a tragic accident layered on years of deception, manipulation, and fear. Every participant in the neighborhood had been acting to protect their own interests, to maintain appearances, to keep Willow Creek's secret web intact. "Why the anonymous messages?" Cole asked. Mrs. Harrison's eyes widened in recognition. "Someone's still watching, someone who knows the truth about all of us. Leonard wasn't the only one involved. There's more. Someone I trusted completely. Someone who orchestrated everything behind the scenes." Cole's heart pounded. "Who?" She hesitated, swallowing hard. "It's my best friend, Marissa Thompson. She's been hiding it all along. She manipulated events to frame Leonard, to cover her own connection with Eleanor. She wanted control of everything." Cole's head snapped toward Marissa's house across the street, the quiet, retired teacher who had always seemed harmless, who had been the first to report the scream. Could she really be the mastermind? It seemed impossible, yet the pieces fit. Her knowledge of the Harrisons' routines, her observations of Leonard, the careful timing of her statements to the police. She had been guiding the investigation from the shadows. Cole moved quickly, calling for backup. By the time he reached Marissa's door, a single light burned in the living room. She opened it calmly, as if expecting him. "Detective," she said with a soft, knowing smile. "I was wondering when you'd come." Cole stepped inside, tension coiling in his chest. "Marissa, I know everything. The Harrisons, Leonard, Eleanor. You orchestrated this to protect your own interests, didn't you?" Marissa's expression remained serene, almost chilling. "Interests? No, Detective. I did it to keep Willow Creek safe. If the truth had come out, the neighborhood, our friends, our families would have been destroyed. People aren't ready to face reality." Cole's hand rested on his holster. "This isn't about protection. This is about murder, manipulation, and hiding the truth." Marissa sighed. "Nathan, sometimes the truth is far worse than the crime itself. You'll see. Everything I did to prevent chaos." Her eyes gleamed, calculating. Cole noticed something in her movement, the way she subtly reached toward the sideboard. He lunged instinctively, grabbing her wrist just as a small vial slipped from the floor and shattered. The liquid smelled faintly of poison. "You were going to," he said, realization hitting him. "Yes," Marissa admitted, almost proudly. "Leonard was supposed to take the fall, Eleanor would cover the finances, and I would ensure the truth never left this street. I was the one controlling everything. And now, Detective, it seems you found me."
Backup arrived and Marissa was taken into custody, her calm demeanor unbroken even as officers handcuffed her. Cole stepped outside, the rain soaking his coat, and looked back at Willow Creek. The quiet neighborhood was no longer serene. It had been a stage for deception, betrayal, and murder, orchestrated by the person everyone trusted most. The full truth was revealed. Mrs. Harrison had accidentally caused Mr. Harrison's death, but panic and secrecy escalated events. Leonard Price had been manipulated into complicity, unknowingly covering for Marissa's orchestration. Eleanor Price had acted under family loyalty, further entangling the web. Marissa Thompson, the trustworthy neighbor, had orchestrated the chaos, ensuring her version of the truth controlled the narrative. Willow Creek would never be the same. Families whispered about the Harrisons, Leonard, Eleanor, and Marissa for months. The perfect lawns, the pastel houses, the smiles on the street, they were masks that had hidden a darkness nobody wanted to see. Detective Cole walked down the street one last time before leaving the scene. The quiet was heavy, almost oppressive. He realized the most chilling part wasn't the murder itself. It was the knowledge that ordinary people living ordinary lives could harbor extraordinary deceit. Willow Creek had been a mirror of suburbia's hidden underbelly. The crime was only the surface. The lies beneath were far worse. As Cole drove away, he couldn't help but glance at the Harrisons' house one final time. The windows reflected the faint glow of the streetlights, empty now, yet heavy with the memories of everything that had occurred. Somewhere inside, the shadows lingered, and he knew that even when a case seemed closed, the hidden truths of human nature would always find a way to surface. Willow Creek had survived the storm, but its innocence, if it had ever truly existed, was gone forever.